They say you never really know someone until money's involved. I learned that lesson at 57 when my stepdaughter's tears got me thrown out of my own house. Her accusations seemed believable. Her fear looked real. Even the police showed up. My name is Garrett Davenport. I'm 57 years old, and until that Tuesday night in Columbus, Ohio, I thought I understood how the world worked. You show up, you do your job, you treat people right, and things generally work out. I'd spent 32 years keeping the city's water treatment facility running, making sure every home had clean water flowing through their pipes. Not glamorous work, but honest. The kind of work that lets you sleep at night knowing you did something that mattered. 15 years of marriage ended when my wife believed my stepdaughter's lie and kicked me out. "Get out. You don't belong here," Pamela yelled that night, her voice shaking the kitchen walls. I left quietly, walked straight out into the storm without arguing. 2 hours later, the sheriff called. When I told them what happened, they went silent. That silence told me more than any words could. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up to how it all started, because the truth is, maybe I should have seen it coming. Maybe there were signs I ignored, red flags I explained away because I wanted to believe in the family I'd built. Or maybe some people are just wired to take advantage, and I was convenient. I met Pamela at a church potluck 7 months after my divorce from Jennifer was finalized. Jennifer and I had been high school sweethearts who grew into different people. No drama, no betrayal, just two folks who realized they worked better as co-parents than spouses. We split everything fair, stayed civil for our kids, Spencer and Olivia. Jennifer remarried a good man named Michael who treated my kids right. I respected that. Pamela seemed like a breath of fresh air back then. She had this way of laughing that filled a room, made you feel like you were the only person she wanted to talk to. She'd been through her own rough patch, raising her daughter Allison mostly on her own after Allison's father disappeared when the girl was 6. I admired that resilience. I thought I understood her struggle. Allison was 13 when Pamela and I got married. Quiet kid, always on her phone, but polite enough. She called me Garrett instead of anything resembling Dad, which was fine. I never tried to replace her father. I just tried to be steady, reliable, someone she could count on if she needed it. Spencer and Olivia were already out of the house by then. Spencer had moved to Boston for law school, eventually becoming a federal prosecutor. Olivia went to Seattle for medical school, specialized in cardiothoracic surgery. They visited when they could, called every week. Good kids who'd grown into good adults. Jennifer and Michael lived 40 minutes away, and we'd all gotten together for holidays without any weirdness. It was modern, maybe, but it worked. The years with Pamela rolled by steady. We settled into routines, the kind that make life predictable in a comforting way. I'd leave for the plant at 5 in the morning, come home by 4. Pamela worked part-time at a dental office, handling billing and insurance claims. Allison drifted in and out, dropping out of college twice, working retail jobs that never seemed to stick. She'd live with us for months, then move in with some boyfriend, then come back when things fell apart. Pamela always defended her. "She's finding her way," she'd say whenever I'd suggest maybe Allison needed to stand on her own 2 feet a bit more. I didn't push it. Wasn't my kid, wasn't my call. That Tuesday started normal. I'd spend the morning troubleshooting a filtration system that kept throwing error codes. Got it sorted by noon. Dennis, my older brother, called during lunch to complain about his neighbor's dog digging up his tomato plants. Normal stuff. I grabbed a sandwich from the food truck outside the plant, ate it watching the river flow past the facility. The sky was already turning gray, clouds stacking up like someone was building a wall. By the time I got home, the first drops were falling. Pamela's car was in the driveway. So was Allison's beat-up Honda with the dented bumper she'd never gotten fixed. I remember feeling that small tug of annoyance. Allison showing up always meant something. Money troubles, boyfriend troubles, some crisis that needed fixing. I walked in through the side door that led into the kitchen. Pamela was at the stove, stirring something that smelled like tomato sauce. Allison sat at the table, scrolling through her phone, earbuds in. She didn't look up. "Hey," Pamela said, her voice a little tight. I noticed, but didn't think much of it. Could have been a long day at work, could have been anything. "Hey yourself," I replied, setting my lunch cooler on the counter. "Storm's coming in." "I know. Weather said it might get bad." I washed my hands at the sink, the water running over my knuckles while I stared out at the backyard. The maple tree I'd planted the year we got married swayed in the wind, leaves flashing silver side up. That's how you know a storm's close. Allison finally pulled out one earbud. "Garrett," she said, her voice flat. Not hostile, not friendly. Just flat. I turned. "Yeah." She looked at Pamela, then back at her phone. "We need to talk after dinner." My stomach tightened. Those words never led anywhere good. But I just nodded. Sure. Dinner was spaghetti. We ate mostly in silence, just the scrape of forks against plates and the low rumble of thunder in the distance. I tried to make small talk. Asked Allison about work. She shrugged. Asked Pamela about her day. Short answers. The tension in that kitchen was thick enough to cut. And then, right as I was finishing my plate, Allison set down her fork and said the words that would blow my life apart. "I found something on my computer. Someone's been accessing my accounts." I stared at Allison, trying to make sense of what she just said. "Someone's accessing your accounts? What do you mean?" She pulled her phone out and tapped the screen a few times, then turned it toward Pamela, not me. "Look, login attempts from this address. Multiple times over the past 2 weeks." Pamela leaned in, her face going pale. I moved around the table to see, but Allison shifted away slightly, keeping the screen angled toward her mother. "Let me see," I said, keeping my voice level. Allison finally turned the phone toward me. The screen showed what looked like a security log, timestamps and IP addresses I couldn't verify without closer inspection. "This is our home network," she said, her voice trembling just enough to sound scared. "Someone here has been trying to get into my banking information." My mind went into troubleshooting mode automatically. Could be malware. Could be someone piggybacking on our Wi-Fi. "Did you click any weird links lately?" "Don't do that," Allison snapped. "Don't try to explain it away like I'm stupid." "I'm not saying you're stupid. I'm saying there are a dozen reasons this could happen that don't involve anyone in this house deliberately." "There are messages too," Allison interrupted. She swiped to something else. "In my email. Threatening messages." Pamela's hand went to her mouth. "What kind of threats?" "Saying I should watch my back. That I don't deserve what I have. That someone's keeping track of everything I do." Allison's eyes filled with tears, her voice breaking. "I'm scared, Mom." I felt ice slide down my spine. "Allison, I need to see those messages." "What?" She looked straight at me, and I saw something in her eyes I couldn't quite name. "So you can delete them?" The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Pamela stood up slowly, looking between us. "Allison, what are you saying?" "I'm saying the logins come from this house. I'm saying the messages started right after I told Garrett I was looking at apartments again." Her voice got stronger now, more confident. "I'm saying I feel unsafe here." That last word, unsafe, hit like a hammer. I'd heard it used before, knew exactly what kind of weight it carried. Once someone says they feel unsafe, every denial sounds like gaslighting. Every explanation sounds like manipulation. "Pamela," I said carefully, "this is not what it looks like." But my wife wasn't looking at me anymore. She was looking at her daughter, at the tears streaming down Allison's face, at the phone clutched in her trembling hands. I watched my wife's expression shift from confusion to something harder, something protective and fierce. "How long has this been happening?" Pamela asked Allison quietly. 2 weeks. Maybe more." Allison wiped her eyes. I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to cause problems. But tonight I found another one, and I can't anymore. Outside, thunder rumbled closer. Rain started hitting the windows and sheets. I stood there in my own kitchen, watching my stepdaughter perform fear while my wife bought every word. "I haven't touched your accounts," I said flatly. "I wouldn't even know how to access them." Allison let out a bitter laugh. "You work with water treatment systems. You understand networks and computers better than anyone I know." The word leave came out of Pamela's mouth like a judge's verdict. Final. Absolute. I looked at my wife of 15 years, standing in our kitchen with her arms wrapped around her daughter, and I didn't recognize her. The woman I'd married wouldn't have jumped to conclusions. She would have asked questions, demanded proof, given me a chance to defend myself. But that woman was gone, replaced by someone who'd already made up her mind. "You want me to leave?" I said slowly, making sure I heard right. "Our home. The house I've been paying for since before we even met." Pamela flinched, but didn't back down. "I need you to go. Just for tonight. Until we can figure this out." "Figure what out?" I didn't do anything. I kept my voice steady, but my hands were shaking. I shoved them in my pockets so they wouldn't see. You're throwing me out based on accusations you won't even let me examine. Allison pressed closer to her mother. I showed you the messages. I showed you the login records. You showed your mother. I corrected. You made damn sure I couldn't get a good look at any of it. Because you just delete everything. Allison's voice rose, tears flowing harder. You'd cover your tracks like you've been doing all along. I turned to Pamela, ignoring Allison completely. You really believe this? You really think I'd threaten your daughter? Pamela's eyes were wet now too. I don't know what to believe, Garrett. But she's scared, and I can't. Her voice broke. I can't risk it. If there's even a chance. There's no chance because I didn't do it. I heard my voice getting louder and forced it down. Losing my temper would only make this worse. Pamela, think. When have I ever given you reason to doubt me? When have I ever been anything but straight with you? She looked away. That hurt worse than if she'd slapped me. Outside, the storm unleashed. Rain hammered the roof. Wind shrieked around the corners of the house. Lightning flashed, turning the kitchen stark white for a heartbeat. The power flickered but held. Just go, Pamela whispered. Please, just for tonight. I stood there another moment, waiting for her to change her mind, to see reason, to remember who I was. But she just stared at the floor, one arm around Allison, who was sobbing into her shoulder. Fine, I said. The word tasted like ashes. I'll go. I walked to the coat rack by the side door and grabbed my work jacket, the heavy canvas one with reinforced shoulders. My keys were in the bowl on the counter next to Pamela's. I picked them up, the metal cold against my palm. Garrett, Pamela started. I held up a hand. Don't. Just don't. I walked out into the storm without looking back. The rain hit me like a fist, soaking through my shirt in seconds. I jogged to my truck, climbed in, slammed the door. Water dripped from my hair, ran down my face. I couldn't tell if it was rain or something else. I started the engine and backed out of the driveway. Through the rearview mirror, I saw them in the kitchen window. Pamela holding Allison, both of them watching me leave. The house glowed warm and safe behind them. My house, my name on the deed, and they'd just thrown me out like I was nothing. I drove with no destination in mind, just following the white lines on the road, windshield wipers beating a rhythm that matched my pulse. The radio played something country and sad. I turned it off. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out at a red light. Text from Dennis. Storm's getting bad. You good? I stared at the message for a long time before typing back. Can I crash at your place tonight? His response came immediately. Doors unlocked. What happened? Tell you when I get there. Dennis lived in a small ranch house on the west side of Columbus, the kind of neighborhood where people minded their own business but still waved when you drove past. I pulled up around 9:30, my truck's headlights cutting through sheets of rain. He opened the door before I could knock, took one look at me, and stepped aside. Get in here before you drown. I dripped water all over his entryway. Dennis disappeared and came back with a towel and a dry t-shirt. Bathroom's down the hall. Coffee's on. I changed in the bathroom, staring at myself in the mirror over his sink. I looked older than I had that morning, tired in a way that sleep wouldn't fix. I dried my hair, pulled on the shirt Dennis had given me. It said Columbus Clippers across the front, a baseball team neither of us followed. When I came out, Dennis handed me a mug of coffee, black and strong enough to strip paint. We sat at his kitchen table, the only sound the rain against the windows and the hum of his refrigerator. So, Dennis said finally, you gonna tell me, or do I have to guess? I told him everything. The accusations, the messages I wasn't allowed to see, Allison's tears, Pamela's choice. Dennis listened without interrupting, his face getting harder with each detail. When I finished, he sat back and let out a long breath. That's a setup. I know it is. Question is, why? What's Allison get out of running you off? I've been asking myself the same thing during the drive over. I don't know. We barely interact. I pay the bills, stay out of her way, don't give her grief about not working. What would I have to gain from harassing her? Dennis tapped his fingers on the table. Not what you gain. What she would. You said she mentioned looking at apartments. Yeah, a few weeks ago at dinner. Said she was thinking about getting her own place, finally. And what did you say? I thought back. Something like, that sounds good, or let me know if you need help moving. I didn't push it. Hell, I was relieved she was finally talking about standing on her own. Dennis nodded slowly. And the house is in your name only, right? You told me that when you bought it. Yeah, after the divorce from Jennifer, my lawyer said, keep property separate. Smart move, turns out. Real smart. Dennis leaned forward. So if Pamela divorced you, she wouldn't have claim to the house. The implication hit me like cold water. You think Allison's trying to get me out so they can stay? I think your stepdaughter's 31 years old with no job and no prospects, and you just bought that house outright 3 years ago. That's a pretty nice setup for someone who doesn't want to work. My phone buzzed on the table. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Mr. Davenport? This is Officer Williams with Columbus PD. We received a complaint tonight regarding a domestic disturbance. We'd like to ask you a few questions. My stomach dropped. I'm listening. Can you tell me where you are right now, sir? I'm at my brother's house. Pamela asked me to leave, so I left. There was a pause. I heard paper rustling. And did you leave voluntarily? Yes. She asked me to go, and I went. No argument. No confrontation. Another pause. Sir, the complaint alleges that you've been engaging in harassment and threatening behavior toward a household member. Is that accurate? No, it's not. I kept my voice level. I've been falsely accused, officer. I haven't harassed anyone. Do you have access to the residence? That was an odd question. It's my house. My name's on the deed. I heard typing. More rustling. When Officer Williams spoke again, his tone had changed slightly. Can you confirm that you're the sole owner of the property at 847 Ridgemont Drive? Yes. I bought it in 2012. It's been in my name only since day one. Long pause. Thank you for your cooperation, Mr. Davenport. We'll be in touch if we need any additional information. The line went dead. Dennis was watching me. That sounded interesting. They asked if I owned the house. I set the phone down, my hand steadier now. Made a point of confirming it was only my name. Well, Dennis said, that's something. They probably figured they'd roll up and remove you from her house. Bet that changed the conversation real quick. Lisa Thornton's office sat above a coffee shop on High Street, the kind of place you'd walk past without noticing. No flashy sign, just her name on a brass plate next to a narrow stairway. The smell of espresso and fresh pastries followed me up the steps. She was waiting in her office, a woman in her late 40s with sharp eyes and graying hair pulled back in practical bun. Her handshake was firm, professional. She gestured to a leather chair across from her desk. Tell me everything, Lisa said, pulling out a yellow legal pad. Start from the beginning, and don't leave anything out. The boring details usually matter most. So I told her. The dinner, Allison's accusation, the messages I wasn't allowed to see, Pamela's immediate belief, the police call. Lisa took notes, occasionally nodding, her pen scratching across the paper in quick bursts. When I finished, she sat back and tapped her pen against her lips. Okay, first thing, you did the right thing by leaving when asked. Shows you're not aggressive, not confrontational. I didn't feel like I had a choice. You didn't, but you made the smart choice anyway. She flipped through her notes. The house is solely in your name, correct? No joint ownership. No refinancing with her name added. Correct. I bought it in 2012, year before we got married. After my divorce from Jennifer, my lawyer advised keeping property separate. Smart lawyer. That's going to save you. Lisa pulled up something on her computer. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to file for exclusive occupancy. Since you're the sole owner and there are allegations being made, you have the right to control who stays in your property. My chest tightened. You mean kick them out? I mean establish legal occupancy. They can't accuse you of harassment and then live in your house rent-free. She typed something. We'll also run a credit check on you and Allison. I want to see if there's any financial funny business that might explain her timing. You think she's hiding something? I think people don't usually make accusations this serious without motivation. Let's find out what hers is. We spent another hour going through paperwork. I signed forms, provided bank statements, gave her access to financial records. Lisa worked methodically, asking pointed questions, taking more notes. One more thing, she said as I was getting ready to leave. Don't contact Pamela or Allison. No texts, no calls, no emails, nothing. Everything goes through me now. What if Pamela tries to contact me? Forward to me. Don't respond. Lisa's expression softened slightly. I know that's hard, but right now, anything you say can be twisted. Silence isn't weakness, Mr. Davenport. It's strategy. I drove back to Dennis's place, feeling simultaneously better and worse. Better because I had someone fighting for me. Worse because having a lawyer made this real in a way it hadn't been before. Dennis was in his garage when I got there, working on an old lawnmower. He looked up when I pulled in. How'd it go? She's filing for exclusive occupancy. Wants to run credit checks. Dennis grunted. Good. That girl's hiding something. My phone buzzed. Spencer. My son calling for Boston. I texted him earlier with the bare bones of what happened. Dad. Spencer said when I answered. I'm on a conference call, but I have 10 minutes. Are you safe? I'm at Uncle Dennis's. I'm fine. Good. Listen, I made some calls. I have a buddy in Columbus PD. He's going to quietly look into the complaint. Make sure everything's documented properly. Spencer, you don't have to. Dad, I'm a federal prosecutor. I know how these things can go sideways fast. Let me help. His voice was firm, the same tone he used in court. And I already talked to Olivia. She's furious. She wanted to fly out immediately, but I told her to wait until we have more information. Olivia, my daughter, the heart surgeon, who'd inherited her mother's temper and my stubborn streak. Tell her I'm okay. Tell her not to worry. Too late for that. But I'll tell her you're handling it. Spencer paused. Dad, one more thing. Don't be surprised if Allison or Pamela try to reach out. They might play the sympathy card, try to get you to come back and talk things through. Lisa said not to respond to anything. Your lawyer's right. Document everything, respond to nothing. We'll let the truth come out on its own. After Spencer hung up, I sat in Dennis's driveway for a long moment, staring at my phone. My kids were circling the wagons, ready to fight for me. That should have made me feel better. Instead, it just made the whole situation feel more real, more permanent. 3 days passed. 3 days of living out a duffel bag at Dennis's place, going to work and trying to act normal, coming back to a house that wasn't mine, and lying awake on a guest bed thinking about everything I'd lost. Then Lisa called. Mr. Davenport, you need to come to my office. Now. The urgency in her voice got me moving. I was there in 20 minutes. Lisa had papers spread across her desk, her computer screen showing what looked like credit reports. Sit down, she said. I sat. Lisa turned her monitor toward me. This is Allison's credit report. Or rather, what's been done in your name. My stomach dropped as I scanned the screen. Store credit cards I'd never opened. A personal loan I'd never applied for. A credit line at a furniture store I'd never visited. All tied to my address. Some already in collections. She's been using my information? I asked, my voice hollow. Not just using it. She's been systematically committing identity fraud for at least 6 months. Lisa pulled up another screen. Look at the dates. Most of these accounts were opened right after she moved back in with you last fall. I stared at the numbers. Thousands of dollars. Maxed out cards, missed payments, my credit score dropping like a stone. There's more. Lisa handed me a printed email. This is from a private investigator I hired. Very discreet, very good at his job. He's been watching your house. I read the email. Allison had been having visitors. A man named Trent Holloway, 38, with a record in 2 states. Fraud, identity theft, romance scams. He'd been at my house 4 times in the past week. Always when Pamela was at work. She's working with someone, I said slowly. She's working with a professional con artist. Lisa pulled up a photo on her phone. A guy with slick back hair and the kind of smile that sold used cars. Trent Holloway specializes in targeting women with family resources. He gets close, figures out the household situation, then they work together to maximize what they can take. My hand was shaking. I set them flat on the desk to make them stop. So the accusation was designed to get you out of the house before you figured out what she'd been doing. If you'd stayed, if you'd started asking questions about her finances or noticed unusual activity, she risked exposure. Lisa's voice was gentle but firm. She didn't want you gone because she was scared. She needed you gone because you were in the way. I thought about Allison's tears, the way she trembled when she accused me. The performance had been flawless, and I'd almost bought it. What do we do? I asked. We document everything. We file a police report for identity theft. We send copies to the prosecutor's office. Lisa started organizing papers into folders. And we prepare for when this house of cards collapses. Because it will, Mr. Davenport. People like Allison and Trent get sloppy. They always do. That evening, Spencer called again. I told him what Lisa had found. He listened in silence, the kind of silence that meant he was already thinking 3 steps ahead. Dad, I'm flying out tomorrow. I have some vacation days saved up. Spencer, you don't have to. Yes, I do. This isn't just fraud anymore. This is conspiracy identity theft, possibly more. I want to be there when it blows up. He paused, and I want to look Allison in the eye when she realizes she's going to jail. After we hung up, I called Olivia. She answered on the first ring. Dad, Spencer told me everything. I'm so sorry. Not your fault, honey. I know, but I should have seen something. Last Christmas when I was there, Allison kept asking weird questions about your work, about the house, about insurance policies. I thought she was just making conversation. Olivia's voice was tight with anger. I should have known she was fishing. Nobody saw it coming. She was good, was being the key word. By the time I'm done, she's going to regret ever hearing your name. My daughter, always ready to fight battles for the people she loved. Spencer arrived from Boston on a Friday afternoon, carrying a leather briefcase and wearing the same determined expression he wore in court. He hugged me tight in Dennis's driveway, then pulled back and looked me over like he was checking for damage. You look tired, Dad. I am tired. Good. Tired means you're fighting. He grabbed his overnight bag from the rental car. Let's go over everything Lisa found. I want to see all of it. We spread the documents across Dennis's dining room table. Credit reports, bank statements, the private investigator's photos, everything Lisa had compiled. Spencer went through it methodically, his prosecutor's mind cataloging evidence, building connections. This is airtight, he said after an hour. Identity theft, fraud, conspiracy. If I was prosecuting this case, I'd call it a gift. She didn't think she'd get caught, I said. Most criminals don't. That's why they're criminals. Spencer pulled out his phone. My buddy at Columbus PD called me back. They're treating your case seriously now. Once they saw the financial records, the whole thing shifted. They're building a fraud investigation. What about the harassment complaint? Still on file, but nobody's taking it seriously anymore. Not when there's 85,000 in fraudulent charges tied to your identity. Spencer looked up. Dad, this is gonna blow up. When they arrest Trent, he'll flip on Allison. When they arrest Allison, she might try to flip on Pamela. My chest tightened. You think Pamela knew? I think Pamela chose to believe a lie because it was easier than admitting her daughter's a criminal. Whether she actively participated or just looked the other way, the courts will decide. Spencer's voice softened. I know you still care about her, but she threw you out, Dad. She chose Allison over you without even asking for your side. He was right. That truth hurt, but it was still truth. The next morning, Lisa called. Mr. Davenport, the FBI picked up Trent Holloway in Cleveland last night. He was trying to board a flight to Mexico. My heart started pounding. Did he talk? He's already asking for a deal. They usually do when facing federal charges. Lisa's voice was crisp, professional. The prosecutor wants to meet with you Monday morning. They're building a case, and you're the victim here. They'll need your testimony. I'll be there. One more thing. The court approved our motion for exclusive occupancy. The sheriff will serve notice to Pamela and Allison Monday afternoon. I sat down hard on Dennis's couch. It was really happening. After everything they'd done, after all the lies, justice was finally moving. Spencer was watching me from the kitchen doorway. FBI got him. I nodded. Good. The dominoes are falling. That afternoon, Olivia called. Dad, I'm flying out tomorrow. Don't argue. I've already arranged coverage at the hospital. Honey, you don't need to. Yes, I do. Spencer's there. I should be too. Her voice was firm. Besides, I want to be there when they serve that notice. I want to see Allison's face when she realizes she's lost. Sunday evening, Olivia arrived. She hugged me even tighter than Spencer had, and when she pulled back, there were tears in her eyes. I'm so sorry this happened to you, she said. Not your fault. I know, but I should have seen something. She always gave me a weird vibe. Olivia wiped her eyes. Is there anything I can do? You're here. That's enough. Monday morning came cold and clear. Spencer, Olivia, and I met with the prosecutor, a sharp woman named Rachel Hendricks who specialized in financial crimes. She walked us through what would happen next. We're charging Allison Davenport with identity theft, wire fraud, and conspiracy, she said. Trent Holloway is cooperating fully. He's already given us detailed testimony about how they planned this, how they targeted you specifically. Why me? I asked. Because you were convenient, stable income, good credit, a house with equity, and because Allison had access. Rachel's expression was sympathetic but professional. Mr. Davenport, people like this prey on trust. You did nothing wrong except believe in family. At 2 o'clock, The sheriff's cruiser pulled up to my house on Ridgemont Drive. I was parked down the street with Spencer and Olivia, watching from a distance. Lisa had advised us to stay back, let the law handle it. The sheriff walked up to the door, knocked, waited. Pamela answered. Even from a distance, I could see her face go pale as he handed her the papers. Then Allison appeared behind her. The sheriff said something. Allison's mouth opened in what looked like a scream. "That's it," Spencer said quietly. "That's the moment she realizes she's done." The eviction notice gave them 72 hours to vacate. 3 days to pack up and leave the house I'd bought, the life I'd built. Lisa said it was standard procedure, that the court was being generous given the circumstances. I spent those 3 days at Dennis's place, trying to work, trying to sleep, mostly just existing in a strange limbo between my old life and whatever came next. On day 2, Pamela called. I stared at her name on my phone screen, remembering Lisa's instructions. No contact. I forwarded the call to Lisa and texted Spencer. She called. I wrote. "Don't answer." He replied immediately. "Let the lawyer handle it." Pamela called 4 more times that day. Left voicemails I didn't listen to. Sent texts I didn't read. By evening, Lisa forwarded me a message. "Ms. Davenport wants to meet. She says she didn't know about the fraud. Should I arrange it?" I showed the text to Spencer and Olivia. We were sitting in Dennis's living room, the TV on, but nobody watching it. "What do you want to do?" Olivia asked. "I want to know if she really didn't know." I admitted. "I want to look her in the eye and hear her say it." Spencer frowned. "Dad, it could be a trap. She could be recording, trying to get you to say something she can use. Let her. I haven't done anything wrong." Lisa arranged the meeting for the next morning at her office. Neutral ground, with Lisa present as witness. Pamela came alone, looking 10 years older than when I'd last seen her. Her eyes were red, her face drawn. We sat across from each other at Lisa's conference table. The silence was heavy, suffocating. "I didn't know," Pamela said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "I swear to you, Garrett, I didn't know what she was doing. But you believed her when she accused me." Pamela flinched. "She's my daughter." She was crying. She was scared. She was lying. My voice came out harder than I intended. "And you chose to believe her lie instead of trusting the man you've been married to for 15 years. Tears spilled down Pamela's cheeks. I know I was wrong. But she's my daughter, Garrett. What was I supposed to do? You were supposed to ask questions. You were supposed to demand proof. You were supposed to remember who I am." I leaned forward. "Did you ever, even once, stop and think that maybe I was telling the truth?" She looked away. "That's what I thought." I sat back. "You threw me out into a storm based on accusations you never verified. You changed the locks on my house. You called the police on me. And now that it's all falling apart, now that Allison's going to jail for what she did, you want me to what? Forgive you? Take you back. I want you to understand. I understand perfectly. I understand that when it mattered most, you chose her over me, even though she was lying, even though I'd never given you reason to doubt me." I stood up. "We're done, Pamela. The house is mine. The marriage is over. And I want you gone by tomorrow." Pamela sobbed. "Please, Garrett. Please don't do this." "I didn't do this. You did." I looked at Lisa. "Are we finished here?" Lisa nodded. I walked out without looking back. Spencer and Olivia were waiting in the hallway. Neither of them said anything, just fell in a step beside me as we left the building. Outside, the November air was cold and clean. I took a deep breath, let it out slowly. "You okay?" Olivia asked. "Yeah," I said, and realized I meant it. "I think I am." That night, I drove past my house one last time. Pamela's car was still there, lights on inside. I could see shadows moving behind the curtains, packing, preparing to leave. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt tired and sad and ready for this chapter to be over. The next day, they were gone. The sheriff's cruiser sat at the curb on a cold Tuesday morning in December, 3 weeks after Pamela and Allison had vacated. I stood on the sidewalk in front of my house, hands in the pockets of my work jacket, watching as the cruiser door opened. Sheriff Deputy Matthews stepped out, folder under his arm, his breath making small clouds in the frozen air. Across the street, Mrs. Reynolds had her curtain pulled back. 2 other neighbors stood on their porches, coffee mugs in hand. Word had gotten around the neighborhood about what really happened. About the lies, the fraud, the manufacturer crisis. People who'd avoided my eyes for weeks now nodded when they saw me. The deputy walked up my driveway with purpose. I called him myself earlier that morning, told him I wanted to be present when the final paperwork was served. Lisa had approved it, said it was my right. Mr. Davenport, Deputy Matthews said, extending his hand. The final judgment came through yesterday. The property is legally and exclusively yours. All contested claims have been dismissed. I shook his hand, felt the solid weight of those words settle over me. Thank you, Deputy. There's more. He opened his folder. Allison Davenport was arrested yesterday afternoon. Federal marshals picked her up at a motel in Cincinnati. She's being charged with identity theft, wire fraud, conspiracy, and obstruction. Her boyfriend already testified against her in exchange for a reduced sentence. My chest tightened, not with satisfaction, but with something more complicated. Relief mixed with sadness. Justice mixed with the bitter taste of betrayal. What about Pamela? I asked. No charges. The investigation determined she wasn't an active participant in the fraud. However, she's cooperating fully with prosecutors. Deputy Matthews's expression softened slightly. For what it's worth, she's devastated. Lost her daughter to prison. Lost her marriage. Lost her home. That's consequence enough for some people. I thought about Pamela, about the woman I'd married 15 years ago who'd laughed at my terrible jokes and made me believe in second chances. Then I thought about the woman who'd screamed at me to get out, who'd chosen a lie over 15 years of truth. Yeah, I said quietly. I suppose it is. The deputy handed me the paperwork. You're free and clear, Mr. Davenport. The house is yours. The debts created in your name have been discharged, and your credit is being restored. The court also ordered restitution, though realistically, you won't see most of that money. I don't care about the money. I care about my name being cleared. It is. Completely. Deputy Matthews tipped his hat. Have a good day, sir. He walked back to his cruiser and drove away. I stood there on my front lawn, the December wind cutting through my jacket, and felt the weight of 3 months lift off my shoulders. Spencer and Olivia came out of the house, where they'd been waiting inside. They'd both taken the week off to be here for this moment. It's done, Olivia asked. It's done. Allison's arrested. The house is mine. It's over. Spencer put his hand on my shoulder. How do you feel? I looked at my house, at the door I'd walked through 1,000 times, at the windows that had glowed warm through so many winters. Like I can breathe again. That afternoon, Jennifer called. My first wife, who'd been following the case through Spencer and Olivia. Garrett, I just wanted to say I'm sorry this happened to you, and I'm glad it's over. Thanks, Jen. That means something. You deserve better than what Pamela did. You always deserve better. She paused. Michael and I are having Christmas dinner at our place. The kids will be there. You should come. You shouldn't be alone for the holidays. The invitation caught me off guard. I don't want to intrude. You're not intruding. You're family. Just because we're divorced doesn't mean we stop caring about you. Her voice was warm, genuine. Besides, the grandkids keep asking about Grandpa Garrett. My throat tightened. I'll be there. Thank you. After we hung up, I walked through my house room by room. It was empty now, just bare walls and floors. Pamela had taken most of the furniture, left gaps where our life together used to be. But those were just things. The bones of the house were still solid, still mine. I could start over. I could fill these rooms with new memories, better ones. Or I could sell it, move on completely, find someplace without ghosts. Either way, I was free to choose. That freedom was worth more than anything I'd lost. 8 months after that December morning, I stood in the same house, but it looked nothing like it had. Fresh paint on the walls, new furniture carefully chosen, pictures of Spencer and Olivia and their families scattered throughout. The kitchen had been renovated, the carpet replaced with hardwood floors. Every trace of Pamela and Allison erased, replaced with something authentically mine. Dennis was in the kitchen, complaining good-naturedly about the fancy coffee maker I'd installed. Things got more buttons than my first car. It's not that complicated. I called from the living room, where I was hanging a new picture frame. A photo from Christmas. The whole family gathered at Jennifer and Michael's place. Spencer's kids, Olivia's future husband she'd started dating in the spring. All of us together, smiling, real. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find Lisa Thornton, standing there with a bottle of wine and a genuine smile. Housewarming gift, she said, handing it over. I figured you'd earned it. You didn't have to come all the way out here. Are you kidding? I had to see what you did with the place. She stepped inside, looked around, and nodded approvingly. This is good, Garrett. Really good. The afternoon filled with people. Spencer and his family drove in from Boston. Olivia brought her fiancé, a software engineer she'd met at a medical conference who made her laugh the way she deserved. Jennifer and Michael came, bearing casseroles and warmth. Even some neighbors stopped by, the ones who'd stood by me through the worst of it. We filled my house with conversation and laughter and the smell of good food. It felt alive in a way it never had with Pamela. It felt like home. Later, as the sun was setting and people were starting to leave, Spencer found me on the back porch. I was watching the sky turn orange and purple, the maple tree I planted years ago swaying gently. You did good, Dad, Spencer said, standing beside me. Coming through something like this, it breaks some people. But you didn't break. Came close a few times. But you didn't. That's what matters. He paused. Have you heard anything about Allison? She pleaded guilty last month. Got 7 years federal. She'll serve most of it. I took a breath. Pamela wrote me a letter. Lisa forwarded it. Long apology, lots of regret. Asked if we could talk. What did you say? Nothing. I didn't respond. I looked at my son. Some bridges, once burned, you don't rebuild. You just learn to live without them. Spencer nodded. And Pamela, last I heard, she moved to Kentucky to be near her sister. Lost her job, lost everything. She made her choice, and she's living with it. Do you think about her? Sometimes, but not the way I used to. Now it's just acknowledgement that she existed in my life. Nothing more. Olivia came out to tell us dessert was ready. We went back inside, back to the warmth and the noise and the people who'd stood by me when it mattered. That night, after everyone left, I sat in my living room with a cup of coffee, looking at my rebuilt life. I'd lost 15 years to someone who didn't deserve them. I'd lost money, time, peace of mind. But I'd gained something too, clarity about what really mattered, about who really showed up when things fell apart. My kids had flown across the country to stand beside me. My ex-wife had opened her home to me for holidays. My brother had given me a place to land. My lawyer had fought for me when I was too tired to fight for myself. Those were the people who mattered. Those were the relationships worth keeping. I picked up my phone and sent a group text to Spencer and Olivia. Thank you for today. Thank you for everything. I love you both. The responses came immediately. Hearts and love and promises to visit again soon. I set my phone down and looked around my house. My home. Hard-won, hard-earned, and finally completely mine. Some people might say I lost in the end. Lost my marriage, lost years of my life, lost the future I planned. But sitting there that night, surrounded by proof of real love and real loyalty, I knew the truth. I hadn't lost anything that mattered. I just cleared away what didn't, making room for what did. And that wasn't losing. That was winning in the way that actually counted.